Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time, not to the grand castles and legendary battles, but to the mud-caked, sweat-stained life of a peasant in feudal Japan. Imagine the cold floor beneath your feet, the faint scent of damp earth and wood smoke filling the air. You hear the distant crow of a rooster, a sound that doesn't signal a lazy morning, but the brutal, non-negotiable start of another day. The light that filters through the cracks in your walls isn't from a sunrise you can enjoy, but from one that demands your labor. There are no lattes here, no soft blankets. You exist in a world where every single action is dictated by a ruthless social order and the unforgiving cycle of the seasons. You probably wouldn't last a day. You'd be cold, hungry, and exhausted before noon. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your journey begins as a unit of production, a cog in the massive, grinding machine of the rice economy. Every aspect of your existence, from the rhythm of your days to the structure of your society, is built on this one grain. You trudge out before the sun is a promise, while it's still just a faint bruise on the horizon. The air is cold and carries the sharp smell of the paddy fields. You feel the muck squish between your toes, a thick, familiar sensation that has defined your life since you were old enough to walk steadily. Your back is already aching, a permanent fixture of your posture, a testament to years of bending over to plant and tend the young rice shoots. You're not an individual, you are a link in an endless chain of labor. The rice you plant isn't for your table. Not really, it's for your lord. For the samurai, for the shogunate. You get just enough to survive, to keep your body working for another day of back-breaking toil. It's a cruel feedback loop. You work to produce the food that gives you the energy to keep working. The quality of your life, the very possibility of your survival through the next winter, is directly tied to the success of this year's harvest. If a blight comes, or a drought, you don't just have a bad season, you face starvation. There is no social safety net, no government assistance program, no buy now, pay later plan. Your existence is a gamble played with the unpredictable forces of nature. One of the fascinating and profoundly miserable facts of this time is that peasants were often forbidden from eating the white rice they grew. That was a luxury reserved for the upper classes. Instead, you subsist on a diet of brown rice, barley, millet, and whatever wild vegetables or roots you can forage. The husk on the brown rice, though a source of some vitamins, makes it tougher to digest. The irony is bitter. You cultivate the grain that sustains the entire nation, but you are not permitted to fully enjoy its finest form. It's a culinary caste system. Historians still argue whether this restriction was purely about class distinction, or if it was also a way to prevent peasant rebellions by keeping them in a perpetually weakened, less nourished state. It's a debate that probably wouldn't matter much to you as you chew another handful of coarse, gritty grains. The village itself is your whole world. It's a self-contained ecosystem of labor, gossip, and collective survival. Everyone knows everyone else's business. Your family has been planting this same plot of land for generations, and your future is locked into the same fate. There are no hidden corners, no secret lives. This isn't a place for introverts. Your every action is observed and judged by your neighbors, and their judgment can be just as punishing as a samurai's sword. The social pressure to conform, to pull your weight, is immense. This isn't because your neighbors are nosy, it's because if one person fails, the entire village is at risk. A failed harvest by one family means a shortfall in the collective tax payment to the lord, which means everyone suffers the consequences. Your survival is tied to the competence and dedication of every other person around you. It's a beautifully simple, terrifyingly fragile system. You are all in this mud-filled boat together, paddling furiously against the current of a very unforgiving world. The social structure of your village isn't a pyramid, it's a tight-knit web, a series of concentric circles with you somewhere in the middle. At the very center is the village elder, a figure of immense respect and quiet power. He isn't elected, he is simply the oldest, wisest man who has seen 1,000 harvests and endured 100 famines. His authority is not derived from a scroll or a law book, but from the collective memory of the community. He's the one who settles disputes over land boundaries, allocates resources, and decides on the punishments for those who break the unwritten code. You'd better believe he knows every secret, every grudge, every whispered rumor that passes through the fields. His word is law, not because it's enforced by a samurai's blade, but because to defy him is to be cast out from the only community you've ever known, a fate worse than death itself. Beneath the elder are the various family heads, the men who hold the authority within their own households, and beneath them, of course, are you. Your role is simple, unwavering, and entirely non-negotiable: to obey. You obey your father, who obeys the village elder, who obeys the local lord. It's a chain of command as rigid and unyielding as the mountains that frame your valley. You're not expected to have opinions, to question decisions, or to seek a different life. Your job is to work, to pay your taxes, and to uphold the collective harmony of the village. The Japanese concept of war, harmony and social unity is not an abstract idea here. It's the very air you breathe. It's what keeps the machine running, what ensures a collective front against the harshness of the outside world. To cause disharmony is to be a weak link, and a weak link threatens the entire chain. Historians still argue whether this social rigidity was a deliberate tool of oppression or a natural consequence of the struggle for survival. Was it a system designed to exploit the masses, or a pragmatic solution that emerged from the constant threat of starvation and warfare? Either way, you don't have time to ponder such things. Your focus is on the next task, the next row of rice, the next moment of stillness before the next round of work begins. Your daily life is a testament to the principle of the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. You don't stand out, you don't express individuality, you don't draw attention to yourself, because to do so is to invite scrutiny, and scrutiny from your peers could be the end of you. Your social interactions are a dance of subtle gestures and veiled intentions. When you speak to a superior, you bow low, perhaps even touch your forehead to the ground, a physical expression of your place in the pecking order. You use specific, humble language. Even when you're talking to your neighbor, you're careful not to sound too boastful or too proud. Yes, the most common form of praise isn't to say, "You are great," but rather to acknowledge someone's humility. It's a society where appearing small and insignificant is the highest form of social grace. This is the bedrock of your world: conformity. You wear similar clothes, live in similar huts, and share similar fates. The idea of me time is utterly alien. Your time is communal time. Your fate is communal fate. Remember that feeling of mud between your toes from the last section? It's the same feeling you've had every morning for as long as you can remember. But today, as you trudge through the village, you notice the silent exchange of knowing glances. Someone's daughter is being sent away to a neighboring village for an arranged marriage. This isn't a decision made by her, it was a negotiation between family heads, a strategic alliance designed to strengthen your village's connection to another. She might be leaving her home forever, but her sacrifice is for the collective good. It's a quiet, unremarkable moment, but it's a powerful illustration of how the needs of the many always, without exception, outweigh the desires of the one. Your life is not your own. It belongs to the village, to your family, to your lord. You are not a person, but a puzzle piece, and your only purpose is to fit in perfectly. While your days are consumed by the mud and toil of the fields, your existence is fundamentally owned by someone else, the feudal lord you serve. His world is an incomprehensible cosmos away from your own, a place of refined cruelty and elaborate ritual. You don't see him often, maybe only when he rides through your village on a massive, well-fed horse, his retinue of armored samurai trailing behind. This isn't a friendly visit, it's a show of force, a physical reminder of who holds the power. When he passes, you and your neighbors must prostrate yourselves, your faces pressed to the dirt, a sign of utter subservience. To look up would be an unforgivable offense, a challenge to his authority, and the swift punishment would be a severed head. You hear the jingle of his horse's harness and the quiet clanking of his samurai's armor, and it's a sound that makes your blood run cold. His life is one of stark contrast to yours. While you worry about a single grain of rice, he's concerned with the strategic positioning of entire rice paddies, the loyalty of his lesser lords, and the rumors of neighboring territories. His day is a complex tapestry of military training, administrative duties, and cultural pursuits. He doesn't just rule, he embodies an ideal. He practices the art of calligraphy, his hand gliding across rice paper with a control you can only dream of. He cultivates a deep appreciation for poetry, for the transient beauty of a cherry blossom. He drinks tea in a quiet ceremony, A ritual of mindfulness that seems almost alien when your life is a constant rush of panicked labor. And of course, he is a master of the sword, his blade a gleaming symbol of his right to rule and kill. For him, the sword is an extension of his soul. For you, a hoe is an extension of your back. A quirky detail that highlights this chasm is the sheer luxury of his living space. His castle, often a distant silhouette on the horizon, is not just a fortress, but a work of art. The walls might be adorned with painted screens depicting mythical scenes or elegant landscapes. The floors are covered in meticulously woven tatami mats, each one a precious item that would represent a year's wages for your entire village. He eats from lacquered bowls, served by silent servants. His life is a performance of power and grace, a constant reaffirmation that he is not just a man, but a god among mortals. You might wonder how a single man could consume so much while you and your neighbors struggle to survive. But such thoughts are dangerous and quickly suppressed. The system is the system. Historians still argue whether the extreme opulence of the daimyo, the feudal lords, was primarily a display of personal wealth or a necessary political tool. Was it a genuine love for refined arts? Or was it an elaborate way to outcompete and intimidate rival lords, solidifying one's status without ever drawing a sword? After all, a lavish banquet or a beautiful new garden could be just as effective in a power struggle as a 100-man army. You don't know. All you know is that the taxes you pay, the literal fruit of your labor, are what fund that world of silk and poetry and finely honed steel. You are the foundation of his existence, but you are not permitted to stand on it. You are simply the dirt from which his life grows. Your world and his are separated by more than just distance. They are separated by a gulf of understanding, a fundamental difference in what it means to be alive. You toil for survival, while he governs for legacy. The clock you live by isn't a mechanical device with hands and numbers. It's the unforgiving natural calendar. Your life is a continuous, repetitive cycle dictated entirely by the seasons. You don't think in terms of months or years, but in terms of planting, growing, and harvesting. The arrival of spring, with its gentle rains, is the signal to prepare the soil. You trudge into the fields, your hoe scraping and turning the earth, a sound as old as time itself. You're constantly looking to the sky, reading the color of the clouds, the direction of the wind, the feel of the humidity in the air. Every single one of your decisions is a gamble on the weather. If you plant too early and a late frost comes, the entire crop is lost. If you wait too long, you risk a shorter growing season, and the yield will be meager. There are no weather apps, no satellite forecasts, only the wisdom passed down through generations. Summer brings a different kind of challenge, the relentless heat and the ever-present threat of drought. The sun beats down on your back, turning your skin to leather and your mind to a haze. You spend endless hours in the flooded paddies, your legs submerged in the muddy water, weeding by hand. You're a human scarecrow, shooing away the birds and insects that would feast on your future. The water level in the paddies is a constant source of anxiety, too little. And the young rice shoots will wither and die, too much. And the delicate plants will drown. You and your neighbors become a synchronized chorus of labor, moving as one to maintain the delicate balance. Your life is an unceasing negotiation with the forces of nature, a slow-motion battle with a silent, indifferent opponent. Fall is the moment of truth. This is when the rice ripens, turning a lush, vibrant green to a shimmering gold. The harvest is a communal event, a frantic race to get the grain in before the first cold snap. You wield your sickles, your movements precise and practiced, each swing a product of 100,000 previous swings. The air fills with the smell of cut rice stalks and the quiet hum of exhausted conversation. This is the one time of year when your community can breathe a collective sigh of relief. The bounty, if it is a good one, means you will survive the winter. If it is a bad one, your fate is already sealed. A strange but important fact about your daily routine is the widespread use of nembutsu, a form of Buddhist chanting. As you work, you and your fellow villagers might softly recite the name of the Buddha, Amida. It's not just an act of piety, it's a rhythmic, meditative practice that helps you endure the monotony and the pain. The repeated chant serves as a kind of internal clock, a way of passing the endless hours, and a prayer for a better life in the next world. It's a quiet act of faith that underscores the physical and spiritual weariness of your existence. You're praying for a better harvest, yes, but you're also praying for deliverance from this cycle of endless labor. Historians still argue whether the agricultural calendar's dictatorial control over peasant life fostered a sense of deep-seated resignation or a profound, spiritual connection to the land. Did the constant struggle with the elements make peasants fatalistic, or did it build a kind of resilience and communal unity that modern societies have lost? Either way, you don't have the luxury of intellectualizing it. As the seasons change, you simply change with them, your body and your spirit molded by the soil beneath your feet. The winter, with its cold winds and barren fields, is a period of scarcity and fear, where you huddle in your hut, praying your stored grain will last until spring. Your entire existence is a testament to the idea that you are not a master of your own destiny, but a servant of the sun, the rain, and the earth itself. The most crushing weight on your shoulders, heavier than any bag of rice, is the burden of taxes and tithes. You work tirelessly, but a significant portion of your labor's fruit is not your own. Your life is a perpetual state of giving away what you have to survive. The tax collector, or Kori Bugyo, is a dreaded figure. He's not a samurai, but he's armed with a power that can starve you just as effectively as a sword can kill you. When he arrives, with his entourage of grim-faced clerks, the entire village falls silent. The air crackles with tension as he meticulously assesses your harvest. The tax isn't just a fixed percentage, it's often a complex and seemingly arbitrary calculation. It might be based on the number of rice paddies, the size of your family, or even a recent edict from the Lord. Sometimes, the Lord demands tribute in the form of other goods, bolts of cloth, baskets of charcoal, or bundles of dried fish. You might have to produce these goods yourself, or trade some of your precious rice to acquire them. This means that even a successful rice harvest doesn't guarantee your survival, because you might need to give away your food to pay for something else the Lord fancies. It's a shell game you can't win. A particularly cruel and common practice was the Mura Yakunin, or village officials, being held personally responsible for the collective tax payment. If the village as a whole couldn't meet its quota, the burden would fall on them. This system created an internal pressure cooker, where your neighbors became just as eager as the Lord to see that you didn't hide a single grain. It fostered a culture of meticulous self-policing. The village itself became a miniature extension of the feudal government, and you, the peasant, were a subject of both. Historians still argue whether this communal responsibility was a clever way to prevent rebellion by making peasants complicit in their own exploitation, or if it was a genuine effort to create a stable administrative unit. Was it a form of solidarity or a system of mutual coercion? The debate is academic to you. All you know is that your neighbor's watchful eye is as sharp as the tax collector's. One day, you might find that the tax has been raised without warning. A new edict has been posted, perhaps to fund your lord's latest campaign against a rival or to pay for a new wing on his castle. You have no recourse, no way to protest. To complain is to risk everything. You simply tighten your belt, work longer hours, and pray for a bountiful harvest. The act of paying your tax is not a transaction, it's a ritual of submission. As you carry your heavy baskets of rice to the village elder, you are not just delivering food, you are reaffirming your place in the universe. You are confirming that you are a producer, not a consumer, and that your life is a resource to be used by others. Remember the simple hut you live in, the one with the mud walls and the thatched roof? You don't own it. The land it sits on, the fields you work, the very air you breathe, it all belongs to your Lord. You are merely permitted to exist on it in exchange for your tireless labor. This lack of ownership creates a unique kind of hopelessness, a feeling that no matter how hard you work, you can never truly build anything for yourself. Your life is a fleeting shadow on a permanent landscape owned by someone else. The only thing you can truly call your own is the fatigue in your bones and the calluses on your hands. The tools you use aren't a high-tech marvel of engineering. They are a direct extension of the earth itself, crafted with a brutal simplicity. Your primitive tool chest is composed of a handful of essentials, each one a testament to the fact that muscle and sweat are the most important components of production. Your primary tool is the hoe, a simple wooden handle with an iron blade at the end. It's what you use to break up the hard, sun-baked earth, to dig the irrigation channels, and to weed between the young rice shoots. The hoe is a constant in your life, a relentless companion. When you're not holding it, you can still feel its weight and shape in your hands. The calluses on your palms a permanent map of your labor. You also possess a sickle, its curved blade perfect for harvesting the mature rice stalks. The sickle is a simple, elegant tool. It's a tool for life, for harvest, for sustenance. It is not, however, a tool for defense. A quick, sharp blow from a sickle is all it takes to gather the grain that will sustain you through the winter. This is the only kind of metal you're likely to interact with in a meaningful way, the iron in your hoe and sickle, and perhaps a small knife for household chores. You're a world away from the gleaming, finely crafted steel of a samurai's katana. Your tools are made for tilling the land, not for taking lives. One of the more quirky tidbits of your life is the common practice of tossing a few grains of rice back into the field after the harvest. This isn't just an act of gratitude to the gods, it's a way of ensuring that the spirit of the rice, believed to reside within the plants, doesn't abandon the land. This ritual acknowledges the spiritual life force, or kami, believed to be in all things, a constant presence in your world. Your interaction with the land is not just physical, it's deeply spiritual. You are not just a farmer, you are a participant in a cosmic cycle of birth, death, and renewal. You respect the land because your life depends on its good grace, and this small act of returning a little bit of the harvest is a form of respect. Historians still argue whether the apparent lack of technological innovation in feudal Japanese agriculture was a result of a societal choice or simply a practical reality. Was the simple hoe a deliberate tool of social control, keeping peasants bound to manual labor and preventing them from acquiring the kind of wealth that might challenge the samurai class? Or was it simply the most efficient tool for the job, perfectly suited for the small, terraced paddies that dot the Japanese landscape? You wouldn't know the answer. All you know is that the sun is rising, and you have to get to work. There's a rhythm to your work, a meditative quality to the repetitive motions of hoeing and planting. Your mind is free to wander as your body goes through its well-worn motions. You might hum a simple folk song, or chat with the person next to you. The work is hard, but it's a shared burden, and that communal suffering provides a strange kind of comfort. You aren't alone in your exhaustion. You look up and see the entire village, a vast tapestry of bent backs and tired shoulders, all working together to feed themselves and their masters. Your tools, as simple as they are your lifelines. They connect you to the earth, to your ancestors, and to your shared fate. They are not symbols of progress, but symbols of continuity, of a life that has gone on for generations in the same backbreaking way. Life in your village is governed less by written laws and more by a complex, subtle web of unwritten rules. These aren't statutes carved in stone, but traditions passed down through whispers and example. You learn them not from a scroll, but from a lifetime of observation. The most important rule is the concept of giri, a deep-seated obligation to others. You have giri to your family, to your neighbors, and to the village as a whole. It dictates your actions, your words, and even your thoughts. If a neighbor's hut is damaged in a storm, you have an unspoken obligation to help them rebuild it. You do this not out of charity, but out of giri. It is your duty, your repayment for all the times your neighbors have helped you, and a down payment on all the times you will need their help in the future. Breaking these unwritten rules isn't met with a swift punishment from a lord, but with something far more terrifying: social ostracism. If you fail to contribute to a communal task, if you're seen as lazy, or if you refuse to help a neighbor in need, you're not just a bad person, you're a threat to the community. Your neighbors will start to look at you differently, their greetings will become colder, their faces less friendly. You will be subtly excluded from communal activities. This quiet, non-violent form of punishment is often more effective than any physical one, because to be alone in this world is to be condemned to a slow, miserable death. A quirky but important tidbit is the use of IE, or the family unit, as the fundamental building block of society. You aren't just an individual, you are a member of an IE that stretches back generations. Your actions reflect not just on you, but on your entire family. The honor of your IE is a precious, intangible asset that you must protect at all costs. This means that a son who works diligently brings honor to his father, and a daughter who is a good wife and mother elevates her family's status. Conversely, a lazy or disobedient person brings shame not just on themselves, but on their ancestors and descendants. It's a heavy burden. This responsibility to uphold a legacy. It's also why you might find yourself silently enduring great hardship or humiliation, because to retaliate would be to endanger your family's good name. Historians still argue whether this system of social obligation was a genius piece of societal engineering that created a strong, self-regulating society, or a deeply oppressive structure that stifled individuality and personal freedom? Was it a beautiful tapestry of communal responsibility or a suffocating web of conformity? For you, the answer is irrelevant. The rules are not up for debate. They are the air you breathe, the water you drink, the ground you walk on. You don't question them, you live them. The seasons turn, the rice grows, and your life glides forward, bound to the same cycles as your ancestors. You move through your days with a kind of quiet grace, knowing that your place is fixed and your purpose is clear. The simple act of helping your neighbor pull weeds from his field isn't just work, it's a silent conversation, a reaffirmation of the bonds that tie you all together. The unwritten rules are the invisible threads that hold your world together, and you, a small, humble weaver, add a new thread every single day with every action you take. Your daily diet is a grim testament to your place in the food chain. You're not eating for pleasure, you're eating for pure, unadulterated survival. Your meals are built around what you can grow and what you can scrounge. The most significant part of your diet is, of course, rice. But it's not the polished, white grain of your Lord's table, it's brown rice, with the husk still intact, and often mixed with less desirable grains like millet or barley to stretch the supply. This mixture, known as zatsugoku mai, is a culinary symbol of your status. You eat it out of a simple, unadorned bowl, often cold and flavorless. The texture is coarse, and you have to chew with diligence. To supplement this meager carbohydrate base, you consume whatever vegetables your family can grow in a small garden plot adjacent to your hut. You'll have things like daikon radish, sweet potatoes, and various types of leafy greens. These are often boiled or pickled in a brine, a necessary method of preservation. The pickle tub, or tsukemono daru, is an ever-present feature of your home, a simple ceramic pot filled with vegetables fermenting in salt and water. A rock is placed on top to apply pressure, a process that is as much about patience as it is about food preparation. A well-stocked pickle tub can be the difference between making it through the winter and starving. Meat is a rare and fleeting luxury. Eating the four-legged animals, cows, pigs, or goats, was often forbidden by a kind of religious prohibition, a carryover from Buddhist beliefs. The main source of protein you might encounter is from the river or the sea. You might catch small freshwater fish, or perhaps a crab. These are usually grilled over a small fire or boiled with your vegetables. But this is not a guaranteed food source. Fishing is often a communal activity, and the catch must be shared, or you might have to give a portion to your lord as a supplementary tax. A particularly quirky source of protein you might resort to is insects. You might roast grasshoppers or boil silkworm larvae, a common practice for peasants looking for a quick and plentiful source of nourishment. It's a taste you've come to know and accept. Historians still argue whether the strict dietary habits of the feudal era were a form of top-down control to keep the peasant class subservient, or if they were a more organic development, born out of resource scarcity and religious beliefs. Did the prohibition on certain meats come from a spiritual place, or was it a pragmatic way for the ruling class to ensure that valuable livestock were reserved for their own consumption? The answer is likely a bit of both. Either way, you don't have the luxury of choice, your food is simple, your portions are small, and every single meal is a silent act of gratitude. You finish every last grain of rice in your bowl, a gesture of respect for the land and the hard work that went into producing it. There is no waste. You and your family will gather around the hearth, perhaps sharing a single communal pot, and eat in relative silence. The act of eating is not a social event, it's a quiet moment of refueling. A necessary pause before the next round of work begins. The food you eat is the fuel that allows you to survive, and nothing more. The idea of culinary arts is as foreign to you as the idea of a vacation. The greatest strategic decision of your life, one that will be made for you, is your marriage. This isn't a love story, it's a business transaction, a negotiation between two families. Your father will sit down with the head of another family, likely from a neighboring village, and they will discuss land, labor, and lineage. Your personal feelings, your hopes, and your dreams are not part of the equation. This is about forging an alliance, strengthening your family's social standing, and ensuring the continuity of the IE, or family line. It's a pragmatic and often brutally effective way of ensuring stability in an unstable world. The person you marry might be someone you have never met before, a stranger who will become your partner in labor and a co-owner of your fate. The wedding ceremony itself is often a simple, quiet affair, a ritual of communal blessing rather than a celebration of romance. The bride, perhaps a girl from a distant village, will leave her home and family forever, becoming a part of yours. Her new identity is tied to your family name, and her purpose is to bear sons who will carry on that name. For you, the groom, your new wife is a source of strength, an additional pair of hands to work the fields, and the key to securing your family's future. A particularly quirky detail about this system is the importance of the bridal trousseau. It's not just a collection of clothes and household goods, it's a public statement of the bride's family's wealth and status. It might include beautifully woven silks, lacquered bowls, and even a small chest of drawers. For a peasant family, this is all aspirational, of course. Your new wife will likely bring only a few simple tools and some carefully mended clothing, but every single item is an important symbol. It's a physical manifestation of the contract you've just entered into, a promise that both families have upheld their end of the bargain. Historians still argue whether this practice of arranged marriage was a purely economic tool of the ruling classes, a way of consolidating power and wealth, or if it was a more organic development that grew out of the need for communal survival. Was it a form of oppression or a practical solution to the problem of a fragile existence? Either way, you are not a romantic hero in a tale of star-crossed lovers. You are a cog in a much larger machine, and your marriage is the lubricant that keeps that machine running. Your life is not for you to decide, but for the collective good of your family and your village. Remember that sense of communal harmony from a few sections ago? Your marriage is the perfect example of it. It's a moment when the needs of two families are brought together to create a stronger, more resilient unit. It's a testament to the idea that you are never truly alone, that your fate is intertwined with that of others. It's a humbling thought, a quiet reminder that your life is not a solo journey, but a shared one. Your future is not a dream of your own making, but a promise made on your behalf, a solemn contract sealed with the exchange of two lives. Your clothing is not a fashion statement, it's a uniform of your station, a practical necessity designed for labor and little else. You wear a simple kimono or a loose-fitting robe made of coarse, undyed hemp or cotton. These materials are rough against your skin and become even more so after countless washings. The fabric is durable but offers little warmth against the biting winter winds. And it's a poor shield from the relentless summer sun. The design is simple, with wide sleeves that allow for freedom of movement as you bend and squat in the fields. There is no tailoring, no elaborate patterns, and certainly no silk. You are dressed for dirt and disaster, and the state of your clothing is a direct reflection of your life's brutal realities. Underneath your kimono, you might wear a simple loincloth. The lack of layers means you are constantly adjusting to the extremes of temperature. In the summer, the sun bakes your skin through the thin fabric, and in the winter, the cold seeps into your bones, no matter how tightly you cinch your sash. Your life is a constant, quiet struggle against the elements, and your clothing is a reminder that you are not winning. A hole in your robe is not a reason to buy a new one. It's a call to mend, a task your wife will meticulously perform, patching and stitching until the garment is more patch than original fabric. A quirky detail about your footwear is the use of waraji, a type of sandal woven from straw. They are incredibly simple to make, but are not very durable. You are constantly weaving new pairs or repairing old ones. The straw provides a flimsy layer of protection between your foot and the mud, but it's a poor defense against sharp stones or thorns. Your feet are permanently stained with the earth, a badge of honor and a symbol of your connection to the land. You would never wear footwear inside a home, of course, as that would bring dirt inside and be an insult to the family. Your sandals, your hands, your clothes, they are all a part of the earth, and you carry that earth with you wherever you go. Historians still argue whether the sumptuary laws of the feudal era, which dictated what different classes could wear, were a form of practical social engineering or a purely symbolic way of maintaining order. Was forbidding a peasant from wearing silk a way to prevent them from becoming economically too powerful? Or was it simply a visual method of reinforcing the rigid caste system? Either way, you don't have the luxury of choice. Your wardrobe is not a collection of options. It's a single, unchanging uniform that marks you as a member of the lowest class. The dirt on your clothes, the frayed edges of your sleeves, and the calluses on your hands are all a part of a single, continuous narrative, the story of your life. Remember that social harmony we talked about? The fact that you all wear the same simple clothes is a part of that. There is no jealousy, no competition over who has the finer robes. You are all equally humble, all equally poor. Your clothing is a testament to your shared fate, a quiet acknowledgement that you are all in this together, bound not by the richness of your garments, but by the simplicity of your existence. The closest you get to a journey, a genuine change of scenery, is the winding road to the shrine. It's not a trip for leisure, it's a pilgrimage, a spiritual obligation that punctuates the otherwise unbroken rhythm of your life. The local shrine, or jinja, is a quiet, wooden structure nestled on a hill or in a grove of trees. It's dedicated to the local kami, a deity or spirit that oversees your village, your harvest, and your family's fortune. The path to it is not paved, it's a dirt track, worn smooth by the feet of generations of peasants on the same solemn journey. You walk barefoot, the earth cool and firm beneath your feet. The act of walking is a form of meditation, each step a quiet prayer. The journey is a physical manifestation of your humility. As you walk, you pass by rows of torii, the iconic red-orange gates that mark the transition from the mundane world to the sacred. Each gate is a reminder that you are leaving behind your daily struggles to enter a realm where your problems feel small and your fate is held in the hands of something much greater than yourself. When you arrive, you perform a simple ritual. You wash your hands and mouth in a stone basin, a symbolic act of purification. Then you approach the main shrine building, toss a few copper coins into the offering box, ring the bell to get the kami's attention, and bow twice. You then clap your hands twice to wake the spirits and offer a quiet prayer. Your prayer is simple, not for wealth or glory, but for a good harvest, for the health of your children, for the strength to endure another year of labor. A particularly quirky element of this ritual is the practice of tying a small paper fortune, or omikuji, to a wire rack or tree branch. If your fortune is bad, you tie it here, symbolically leaving the bad luck behind. If it's good, you take it with you. Historians still argue whether the widespread practice of Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan, was a genuine expression of a deep spiritual connection to nature, or if it was encouraged by the ruling classes as a way to maintain social order. Did the belief in local kami, who could be appeased through ritual and offerings, give peasants a sense of control over their unpredictable lives? Or did it simply reinforce a fatalistic mindset that discouraged rebellion? For you, the answer is a little of both. The ritual provides a brief moment of peace, a respite from the constant worry. You feel connected not just to the land, but to a spiritual force that feels more real and more present than the distant lord who rules you. As you walk back to your village, the familiar aches in your body return, but your spirit feels a little lighter. The journey to the shrine is a reminder that you are not alone in your struggles, that there is an entire unseen world of spirits and ancestors who watch over you. The path is a physical one, but the real journey is an internal one, a quiet reaffirmation of your place in the universe. It's a day that breaks the monotony, a rare moment of purposeful movement that isn't dictated by the fields. It's a journey of faith, and it's a journey that you and your people have been taking for as long as anyone can remember. When sickness strikes, you don't have a doctor's appointment to make or a pharmacy to visit. Your body is your most valuable asset, a tool for labor, and a serious illness is not just an inconvenience, it's a potential death sentence. Your village's medical knowledge is a strange and often terrifying blend of folk remedies, herbalism, and superstition. A fever might be treated not with medicine, but with a specific chant or a ritual to appease the angry spirit believed to be causing it. A deep cut might be packed with a poultice of local herbs, but the real healing is left to the mercy of the gods. The most common ailments are those of a hard life. Your back constantly aches from the fields. Your joints are stiff from the cold and damp. Your hands are a map of cuts, calluses, and blisters. These are not seen as sicknesses but as the normal state of being. You simply endure them. A quiet, constant pain that you learn to live with. But when a more serious disease comes, such as a severe cough, or a debilitating stomach ailment, the entire village is on high alert. There are no isolation wards or public health campaigns. The sick are cared for by family members, who might resort to various questionable treatments, from boiled bark to drinking strange concoctions, are quirky and frankly stomach-churning. Tidbit about these folk remedies is the use of moxa, a cone of dried mugwort. A healer, often a local elder or a village shaman, would place this cone on a person's skin and light it on fire. The burning moxa would create a small blister, a counter-irritant believed to draw out the sickness. The smell of burning herbs is a familiar and slightly terrifying scent in your village. It's a treatment that is as painful as the illness itself, and its effectiveness is entirely up for debate. But when your options are limited, you will try anything. Historians still argue whether the lack of formal medicine in feudal Japan was due to a societal preference for spiritual healing, or if it was simply a consequence of the rigid class structure that reserved advanced knowledge for the samurai and the monks. Did peasants genuinely believe that an angry spirit was causing their illness? Or was that the only explanation available to them, given their limited access to information? For you, the answer doesn't matter. When you are sick, you are utterly alone. And your fate is in the hands of the gods and the simple remedies your ancestors have passed down. The idea of a sterile, clean hospital is a fantasy you could never imagine. The greatest fear isn't just your own illness, but that of your children. A child's fever is a terror that grips the entire family. You might spend a sleepless night holding a hot cloth to their forehead, praying to the local kami, and whispering the ancient chants of your people. The loss of a child is a common tragedy, a constant sorrow that hangs over the village. The short lifespans and high infant mortality rates are not just statistics, they are personal tragedies, one that you are painfully aware of every time you look at your family. The simple fact is that in your world, a cold can kill you, a minor wound can lead to a fatal infection, and the only doctor you have is your own will to survive. The village's unwritten rules are a web of subtle obligations, but for the serious infractions, the punishment is swift and brutal. There are no trials, no appeals, and no mercy. The village elder and the family heads act as judge, jury, and executioner. A theft, a serious act of disrespect, or, heaven forbid, a challenge to the established order is a crime not just against one person but against the entire community. The punishment is designed to be a deterrent, a public display of what happens when you stray from the path of WA or harmony. It's a terrifyingly efficient system. The most common punishments are public beatings, often administered with a thick bamboo stick. The entire village is made to watch, and the rhythmic sound of the stick hitting flesh is a chilling reminder to everyone present of the high price of disobedience. The shame of being publicly humiliated is often a greater punishment than the physical pain. It's a punishment that sticks with you, a stain on your family name that will linger long after your bruises have faded. A particularly quirky aspect of this justice system is the concept of gossen, or trial by fire. A person accused of a crime might be forced to hold a red-hot iron. If their hand is burned, they are guilty. If it is not, they are innocent. This is a system that relies entirely on a person's faith and the belief that the gods would not let an innocent person be harmed. Historians still argue whether this system of village justice was a pragmatic and effective way of maintaining order in a society without a formal police force, or if it was a brutal and often arbitrary tool for the powerful to keep the lower classes in line. Was it a reflection of a collective desire for harmony, or a way for the village elite to enforce their will? For you, the peasant, the distinction is meaningless. The punishment is a fact of life, and the only way to avoid it is to live a life of quiet conformity. The terror of a bamboo stick, the constant fear of a misstep, is what keeps your society running. The threat of a lord's punishment is even more severe. While the village elder might deal with minor issues, a lord's decree is absolute. If a crime is deemed significant enough, a samurai might be dispatched to handle it, and when a samurai comes, he doesn't just punish the individual, he might punish the entire family, or even the entire village. A grim reminder of collective responsibility. The punishment for a peasant who defies a lord might be a public execution, a show of force so terrifying it will be spoken of in hushed tones for generations. The sword of the samurai is not just a weapon of war, it is a tool of justice, a symbol of the ultimate power of the ruling class. Remember the collective nature of your life. That extends to crime and punishment. There is no such thing as an individual crime. A crime is an act against the group, and a punishment is a lesson for the group. Your fear of punishment is not just for your own body, but for the safety and honor of your family and your neighbors. Your life is a constant walk on a very narrow path, and a single wrong step could spell disaster not just for you, but for everyone you know and love. The sight of a samurai riding through your village is not an event to be celebrated. It's a moment of profound, stomach-lurching terror. You hear them before you see them, the rhythmic thud of hooves on the dirt road, the quiet jingle of their armor, the unmistakable creak of saddle leather. When the news spreads, a hush falls over the entire village. You and your neighbors immediately drop what you're doing and prostrate yourselves, your faces pressed into the dirt, your bodies as low to the ground as possible. This is not just a gesture of respect, it's a non-negotiable act of submission. To stand, to look, to even meet their gaze is a challenge, an act of defiance that will be met with immediate and brutal reprisal. The samurai is a different order of being. He is not a man like you. He is a warrior, a representative of the Lord's absolute power. He is clean, his clothes are of fine silk, and his face is a mask of serene indifference. He is armed with the symbols of his power, the long sword, the katana, and the shorter companion sword, the wakizashi. These swords are not just weapons, they are part of his soul. A peasant is forbidden from owning such a weapon, a law that is not just about control, but about reinforcing the caste system. He might ride through your village to inspect the crops, to collect taxes, or to simply assert his dominance. Whatever his reason, his presence is a heavy, oppressive force that hangs in the air long after he has passed. A particularly grim and quirky detail about the samurai's power is the concept of kiri sute gomen, which roughly translates to permission to cut down and leave. This was a law, or a custom, that allowed a samurai to kill a commoner who had offended him, or who had simply gotten in his way, without consequence. It was a terrifying reality, a constant reminder that your life was not your own and could be ended on the slightest whim of a man whose world was incomprehensibly different from yours. The mere act of jostling a samurai in a crowded street could lead to a swift and bloody end. Historians still argue whether this was a codified law or a more informal understanding. But for you, the peasant, the distinction is meaningless. All you know is that a samurai has the power of life and death over you, and you must never, ever forget it. The moment he rides through, you hold your breath, your heart thudding against the mud. You can smell the leather of his saddle, the faint, clean scent of his clothing, a stark contrast to the scent of sweat and earth that defines your life. You hear the soft swish of his silk kimono, the quiet click of his horse's hooves, and then, as quickly as he came, he is gone. You and your neighbors slowly rise, your bodies stiff and sore, and you return to your work. The memory of his passing lingers, a quiet terror that settles in your bones. It's a powerful, visceral reminder that your life, your family, your village, it all exists at the pleasure of a man with a sword, and you must never, ever give him a reason to use it. Your life is a continuous, repetitive cycle of labor and survival, but there are rare, fleeting moments when the rhythm breaks, and you are allowed to experience festivals and fleeting joy. These aren't wild parties, they're communal celebrations, a brief respite from the endless toil. The most important is the Obon festival, held in midsummer. This is a time to honor the spirits of your ancestors, a moment when the veil between this world and the next is believed to be at its thinnest. You and your family will meticulously clean your home, offer food to the spirits at a small altar, and light paper lanterns that are sent floating down the river at dusk. The lanterns, a flickering trail of light on the dark water, are a beautiful and poignant sight, a quiet farewell to the spirits as they return to their world. It's a moment of shared grief and communal memory, and for a few days, the focus is not on the living, but on the dead, a reminder that your existence is part of a much longer, unbroken chain. Another key festival is the Tanabata festival, which celebrates the meeting of two star-crossed lovers, Orihime and Hikoboshi. According to legend, they are separated by the Milky Way and are only allowed to meet once a year. For you, the peasant, this is a time to make wishes. You write your desires on small, colourful strips of paper called tanzaku and tie them to bamboo stalks. Your wishes are simple: a good harvest, health for your family, an end to a drought. The colourful strips of paper fluttering in the wind are a rare splash of colour in your otherwise monochromatic world. A brief, childlike moment of hope and fantasy. It's a reminder that even in a brutal world, people still yearn for beauty and connection. A quirky detail that adds to the festive atmosphere is the presence of street performers and storytellers who might pass through your village during these festivals. These itinerant entertainers, or itoki, might use a scroll or painted images to tell a famous tale. Perhaps a heroic story of a samurai, or a cautionary fable about a mischievous spirit. This is your only access to a world of narrative and art. You and your neighbours will gather around, lost in the magic of the performance, a temporary escape from the mud and the hunger. It's a rare moment of shared wonder, and you'll talk about the story for weeks after the performer has left. Historians still argue whether the festivals of feudal Japan were genuinely spiritual and communal affairs, or if they were a deliberate tool of the ruling class to provide a harmless outlet for peasant frustration. Did these brief moments of joy serve to pacify a populace that might otherwise rebel? Or were they a natural and necessary part of a culture that deeply valued tradition and continuity? For you, it's not a philosophical question. It's a moment when the burden of your life feels a little lighter. A few precious hours when you can laugh and sing and connect with your neighbours without the constant fear of a misstep. The music, the laughter, the shared food, it's all a quiet but profound act of defiance against a world that wants to grind you into dust. These festivals are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. While your hands are busy with mud and straw, your lord's wealth and power are secured by the hands of a different kind of craftsman, the blacksmith. The art of feudal blacksmithing, particularly the forging of a samurai's sword, is a secret and sacred craft. The blacksmith is not a peasant, but a respected artisan, often living in a village set apart, close to the source of iron. You will likely never see the process, but you will hear the rhythmic clang, clang, clang of his hammer on the anvil, a sound that resonates with a quiet, menacing authority. The process is shrouded in ritual and secrecy, a testament to the fact that the sword is more than just a weapon. It is the soul of the warrior. The process is incredibly labor-intensive and steeped in ritual. A sword is not forged in a single day, but over many weeks or even months. It begins with the careful selection of iron sand, which is then smelted in a traditional clay furnace called a tatara. The resulting steel, called tamahagani, is then hammered, folded, and forged thousands of times. The repeated folding of the steel serves two purposes. It purifies the metal by removing impurities and creates a unique, layered structure that makes the blade incredibly strong and flexible. Each fold doubles the layers, so a blade folded 15 times would have over 32.000 layers. The final blade is a work of art, a shimmering testament to the patience and skill of the blacksmith. A particularly quirky and unique fact about this process is the tradition of the master blacksmith putting on a ceremonial robe and praying to the gods before beginning a new sword. The belief was that the gods, or kami, would guide his hand and impart a spiritual essence to the blade. It's a blend of hard, physical labor and quiet, spiritual reverence. The blacksmith is not just a craftsman, he is a kind of priest, a man who is communing with the divine to create an instrument of death and honor. You might occasionally see a finished blade being carried by a samurai. The faint, polished gleam of the sword, with its wavy hamon, the temper line, is a hypnotic and terrifying sight. Historians still argue whether the extreme secrecy surrounding the forging of swords was a way of protecting a valuable trade or a way of keeping the lower classes from ever acquiring the means to challenge the samurai. Was the process of sword-making a form of magical ritual or simply a highly advanced form of metallurgy that was kept secret for political reasons? For you, the answer is simple. The samurai's sword is a symbol of everything you are not. It is sharp. You are dull. It is strong. You are weak. It is a tool of killing. You are a tool of living. The sound of the blacksmith's hammer is a constant reminder of the chasm that separates your world from his. You are a man of the earth, and he is a man of steel. Your village is your world, but every once in a while, you might get a rare opportunity to venture beyond its familiar rice paddies and into the nearest town. This is not a casual stroll. The journey is a long and perilous one, often a day's walk or more. The roads are unpaved, prone to mud and dust, and you have to be constantly on guard for bandits, wild animals, or the even greater threat of a samurai patrol. You travel in a small group, your family's meager goods bundled on your backs. The town, when you finally arrive, is a chaotic sensory overload. The air is thick with the smell of charcoal smoke, fermenting rice, and 100 different human scents. It is loud, a constant hum of commerce and conversation, a stark contrast to the quiet of your fields. The town is where the merchant class thrives. They are a different kind of people. Not bound to the land like you are. They deal in money, not rice. They are at the bottom of the official social hierarchy, below the peasants, but their influence is a quiet, growing power. You'll see them in their shops, haggling over prices, their abacuses clacking rhythmically. They sell goods you can only dream of, small iron tools, colourful cloth, and even luxury items like salt and spices that are far beyond your reach. Their world is one of profit and loss, a foreign language to you. A particularly quirky detail about the town is the existence of the mizu shobai, or water trade. This is a euphemism for the entertainment districts, where you might find tea houses, inns, and perhaps even geisha. This is a world entirely separate from your own, a place of refined art, music, and social intrigue. It's a place where a man can buy a temporary escape from his reality. You would never have the money to enter such a place, but you might catch a glimpse of a woman in a beautiful kimono, her face painted white, her hair in an elaborate style, a living symbol of a world of beauty and leisure that is utterly alien to you. Historians still argue whether the growth of the merchant class was a disruptive force that eventually led to the breakdown of the feudal system, or if it was a necessary component that lubricated the economy and allowed for greater trade and cultural exchange. Was their low social status a way to keep their power in check? Or was it a sign of the samurai class's ultimate arrogance, their inability to see that a new kind of power was rising? For you, the peasant, the distinction is meaningless. All you know is that the merchant has something you don't, the ability to move freely, to acquire wealth, and to build a life not dictated by the seasons or the whims of a lord. You see their success, and it's a tantalizing glimpse of a world that you can never be a part of. The town is a place of wonder and danger, a brief break from the quiet terror of your daily life, and a reminder that there are other ways to exist in this world, even if they are not for you. A child's life in your village is a brutal, abbreviated thing. There is no concept of childhood as a time of innocence and play. From the moment they can walk, children are put to work. A 3-year-old might be tasked with shooing away crows from the fields with a small, makeshift clapper. A 5-year-old will be sent to the stream to collect water, their small backs straining under the weight of the bamboo buckets. A 10-year-old is already a valuable farmhand, capable of planting, weeding, and even wielding a small sickle at harvest time. This isn't a form of child abuse. It's a necessary part of the social and economic fabric of your world. Every single person, regardless of age, must contribute to the collective survival. There are no idle hands. The idea of a child simply playing is an alien luxury, a concept that belongs to a different world. For the few hours not spent working, children might learn the rhythms of village life by imitating the adults. They will practice their bows, learn the appropriate language for different social interactions, and listen to the stories and proverbs passed down through generations. These stories aren't just for entertainment. They are a form of education, a way of passing on the unwritten rules of the village, the traditions, and the warnings of what happens to those who stray. A particularly poignant and quirky tidbit about this is the custom of keiko, or making a paper doll. A child might create a simple doll out of straw or paper, and the doll is said to contain the child's spirit. It is an act of a kind of playful spiritualism, a brief moment of imagination in a world that stifles it. These dolls are often given as offerings at a shrine or a household altar, a way of asking for a safe and healthy life. It's a quiet, humble ritual, a testament to a parent's desperate wish for their child's survival in a world that offers no guarantees. Historians still argue whether the lack of a defined childhood was a natural consequence of the struggle for survival, or if it was a deliberate societal choice to create a compliant and productive workforce. Did the absence of play and education make the peasant class more docile, or was it simply a reflection of the fact that every single pair of hands, no matter how small, was needed to work the land, for you, the peasant? The answer is simple. Your children are not just your offspring, they are your future. And their labor is a critical component of your family's ability to endure. You love them, of course, but your love is expressed not in a way a modern parent might, but in the lessons you teach them about how to properly work the fields, how to mend a fishing net, and how to bow respectfully to a samurai. You are preparing them not for a life of comfort, but for a life of toil, because that is the only life you know. The innocence of a child is a beautiful thing, but in your world, It is a luxury you cannot afford. In your village, there's no need for a formal police force or a security guard. Instead, you have the village watch and ward, a system of collective policing where everyone is a potential enforcer and a potential informant. The responsibility of keeping order and ensuring security falls on the entire community. At night, a small group of villagers, usually the men of the households, will patrol the village. Their footsteps on the dirt roads are familiar and reassuring sound. They carry simple lanterns and bamboo clappers, their rhythmic clack, clack, clack serving as a warning to potential intruders and a signal that all is well. This isn't a paid job, it's a social obligation, a duty that falls to every family on a rotating basis. This system is built on a foundation of mutual surveillance. Everyone knows everyone's business, and the social pressure to conform is intense. If you were to see your neighbor hiding a portion of his harvest to avoid taxes, it would be your duty to report it to the village elder. This isn't out of malice, but out of a sense of collective responsibility. His crime is a crime against the entire village, and his punishment could save everyone else from a higher tax burden. It's a system where trust is earned by conformity, and suspicion is a constant companion. A particularly quirky detail is the use of kumi, a small group of 5 households that are mutually responsible for each other's actions. If one family breaks a law or fails to pay its taxes, the entire kumi is held accountable. This system, known as gonin-gumi, was a brilliant tool of social control implemented by the shogunate. It ensured that every family had a vested interest in the behavior of their neighbors. It created a powerful form of self-policing, an internal pressure that made it incredibly difficult to rebel or to even entertain thoughts of disobedience. Historians still argue whether this system was a clever and efficient way to maintain peace and stability, or a deeply oppressive tool that stifled individuality and fostered a culture of fear and mistrust. Did the gonin-gumi create a sense of solidarity and mutual reliance, or did it turn neighbor against neighbor, creating a society of spies? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The system is simply a fact of life, and you participate in it without question. You report what you must, you do your duty, and you pray that your neighbors do the same. The village watch and ward is a quiet, constant reminder that you are never truly alone, and your actions, for good or for bad, have consequences not just for you, but for the 4 other families who are a part of your group. While your world is defined by mud, rice, and constant labor, the samurai's world is governed by an entirely different set of principles. His life is an exercise in the strict code of Bushido, or the way of the warrior. It's an unwritten philosophy that dictates every aspect of his existence, from how he trains to how he dies. Bushido is not just a set of rules, it's a moral compass that a samurai must adhere to with unwavering loyalty and honor. It's the reason a samurai can be a master of poetry and a master of the sword all at once. For him, the sword is an extension of his soul, and the way he wields it is a reflection of his inner character. The core tenets of Bushido are honor, loyalty, and courage. A samurai's greatest fear is not death, but dishonor. To betray his lord, to show cowardice in battle, or to fail to protect his family would be a fate worse than death itself. This sense of honor is so all-encompassing that it defines his relationships in his actions and his ultimate purpose. He is a protector, a guardian of the Lord's domain, and his life is a continuous, quiet preparation for the moment when he might have to lay it down for his master. A particularly quirky detail about Bushido is the importance of ji, or righteousness. It's not just about doing what is right in the eyes of the law, but about doing what is morally right in every situation. A samurai might refuse a duel, for instance, if he felt the circumstances were dishonorable. This is a complex moral system that requires constant introspection and self-discipline. He is expected to be a man of few words, his actions speaking for themselves. His composure, even in the face of great danger, is a testament to his adherence to the code. Historians still argue whether Bushido was a genuine, lived philosophy or a romanticized ideal that was created after the fact to justify the samurai class's power. Did a samurai truly live by these lofty principles, or were they a convenient justification for a system of violence and control? For you, the peasant, the distinction is meaningless. All you know is that the samurai's existence is a stark contrast to your own. While your life is a constant struggle for physical survival, his is a constant struggle for moral perfection. He lives and dies by a code of honor that you can never understand, a code that is as beautiful and as terrifying as a finely honed blade. The samurai's world is one of duty and death, and your world is one of life and labor. He is the guardian of the nation, and you are the foundation. For the samurai, life isn't just about warfare and politics, it's a constant quest for refinement and inner peace. The most profound expression of this is the tea ceremony. This isn't about just drinking tea, it's a meticulously choreographed ritual, a spiritual practice that elevates the mundane act of drinking tea to an art form. It's a quiet, slow-paced affair, a stark contrast to the violence and chaos of their world. As a peasant, you would never be invited to such an event, but you might hear about it. A mystical, almost mythical practice that happens in the private chambers of the elite. The ceremony is guided by 4 principles: harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. The host prepares the tea, often a frothy, green powder called matcha, with slow, deliberate movements. The guests, in turn, admire the simple beauty of the tea bowl, the quiet grace of the host's movements, and the unadorned elegance of the tea room itself. The sound of the whisk against the bowl, the quiet rustle of silk robes, the gentle clink of ceramic, these are the only sounds you will hear. This ritual is a way for a samurai to find peace in a world that is always on the brink of war, a moment of profound quiet in a life of constant noise. A particularly quirky detail about the tea ceremony is the concept of wabi-sabi, a Japanese aesthetic that finds beauty in imperfection and impermanence. The tea room might be decorated with a single asymmetrical flower in a simple vase, or the tea bowl itself might have a deliberate crack or a subtle imperfection. This is a deliberate rejection of flawless perfection, a quiet acceptance of the natural state of things. It's a philosophical concept that is entirely alien to your world, where a flaw in your tool or a crack in your house could be a death sentence. To the samurai, a chipped tea bowl is a thing of beauty. To you, a cracked rice bowl is a sign of poverty. Historians still argue whether the tea ceremony was a genuine spiritual practice or a form of social and political theatre. Was it a way for rival lords to meet on neutral ground and negotiate alliances in a non-threatening environment? Or was it a true expression of a deep-seated desire for peace and tranquility? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The tea ceremony is a symbol of a life you can never have, a world of quiet contemplation and refined art that exists on the other side of a social chasm. You are a man of the earth, and the samurai is a man of the mind. His life is an exercise in aesthetics, and your life is an exercise in survival. You break your back to survive, and he sips his tea in a quiet room, contemplating the beauty of a single imperfection. Your world is small, confined to the rice paddies, the village, and the occasional trip to town. The outside world is a distant, mysterious place, and the only way you know about it is through how news travelled in the past. There are no newspapers, no printed books, and no way to send a message to a distant city. Information is passed from person to person, often by word of mouth, which makes every piece of information suspect and every rumour a potential truth. A travelling merchant, a wandering monk, or an itinerant storyteller might be your only connection to a world beyond your valley. When a traveller does pass through your village, you listen intently. He might tell you about a great battle that was fought 100 miles away, a new edict from the shogun, or a new tax that is being levied on a distant province. This information, often exaggerated and distorted, is your only window into the larger world. It's a game of telephone, with each person adding their own bit of spin and embellishment. By the time the news reaches your village, it's a garbled mess of half-truths and tall tales. But you listen anyway, because it's a way of feeling connected to a world that you can never truly be a part of. A particularly quirky and unique fact about this system is the use of koshiki, or official announcements, that were often posted in public places. These were simple wooden placards with a few words of text, often a decree from a lord or a warning about a new law. You, the peasant, are likely illiterate, so you would have to rely on a travelling scholar or a literate villager to read it to you. This system of public announcements was a way for the ruling class to disseminate information, but it was also a way of reinforcing the power structure. They had the information, and you had to rely on them to get it. It was a kind of subtle social control, a reminder that they were in charge of the flow of information, and therefore, in charge of your reality. Historians still argue whether the lack of a formal system of information was a deliberate tool of the ruling class to keep the peasants ignorant, or if it was simply a reflection of the technological limitations of the time. Did the samurai and the monks want to keep you in the dark, or was it a practical reality that information simply couldn't travel any faster? For you, the answer doesn't matter. The lack of information is a part of your life, a quiet ignorance that defines your existence. You live in a world of limited knowledge, where a rumor can start a panic and a whispered secret can change the course of a family's life. The only thing you can truly rely on is the unchanging rhythm of your life, the one story that is always true. While the samurai and the peasants live in a world of stark and visible distinctions, there's another class of individual that exists in the shadows, the ninja, or shinobi. To you, the peasant, the ninja is a mythical, almost supernatural figure. He is a ghost, a whisper, a force of nature that is spoken of in hushed tones around the hearth at night. He is a master of espionage, sabotage, and assassination, a hired tool for a lord who needs to win a battle without a fight. He operates outside the strict code of Bushido, using deception and stealth to achieve his goals. While the samurai is a warrior of the sun, the ninja is a warrior of the night. The training of a ninja is a brutal and all-encompassing process that begins in childhood. They are not just taught how to fight, they are taught how to disappear. They learn to blend in with their environment, to walk silently, to move with a preternatural grace. They are masters of disguise, capable of impersonating a merchant, a peasant, or even a wandering monk. This ability to blend in is their greatest weapon. They can slip into a lord's castle unseen, steal a valuable document, and vanish before anyone knows they were even there. Their life is a complete rejection of the samurai's open, honorable warfare. They win not with a sword, but with information. A particularly quirky detail about the ninja is the use of kyoketsu shoga, a weapon that is part rope, part blade, and part ring. It's a tool of stealth and surprise, a weapon that is as strange and unique as the ninja themselves. Unlike the samurai's katana, a symbol of honor and power, the ninja's tools are practical and often unconventional. They are designed for a single purpose, to get the job done without drawing attention to themselves. They might use a small, sharpened dart, or a tool that allows them to climb a wall silently. Their weapons are as much a part of their stealth as their movements. Historians still argue whether the ninja were a widespread reality or a small, specialized group of individuals who were eventually romanticized in folklore. Were they a genuine threat to the feudal system, a quiet resistance that operated outside the rules, or were they simply a boogeyman, a story told to frighten children and enforce order? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The ninja is a symbol of a world that you can never understand, a world of shadows and secrets. He is a figure of both terror and fascination, a grim reminder that not all power comes from a sword or a title. Some power, the quiet, terrifying kind, comes from the ability to be invisible. The ninja is a testament to the fact that even in a world of rigid order, there are always those who operate outside the lines. He is a ghost, a legend, and a whisper, and you pray you never have to see one in person. Your life is governed by two great spiritual forces, two belief systems that are not in conflict but exist in quiet harmony. The first is Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan. It is not a belief system with a founder or a set of holy scriptures. It is a profound connection to the natural world. To you, the peasant, every tree, every river, and every mountain has a spirit, a kami. When you walk through the forest, you are not just walking through a collection of trees, you are walking through a sacred space. When you see a waterfall, you are not just seeing falling water, you are seeing a powerful kami in its raw form. This belief system imbues your daily life with a sense of purpose and reverence. The very ground you work is sacred, and your labor is not just for your survival, but a quiet offering to the spirits that sustain you. The act of planting a seed is an act of faith. The second great spiritual force is Buddhism. This is a faith that came from the outside, a philosophical system that speaks to the inevitability of suffering and the possibility of enlightenment. It offers you a hope that Shinto does not, a promise of a better life after this one. You might pray to the Buddha Amida, a deity who promises to help you reach a pure land, a kind of heaven, after your death. This is a powerful and comforting idea, a light at the end of a very long, dark tunnel. You don't need to be a monk to be a good Buddhist, you simply have to believe and chant the Nembutsu, Namu Amida Butsu, which is a simple prayer that you can whisper while you work. A particularly quirky detail about this is the unique blend of these two religions. Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples often exist in the same compound, a visible sign of their peaceful coexistence. A shrine might be dedicated to a local kami, while the temple next to it is dedicated to a Buddhist deity. You, the peasant, See no contradiction in praying to both. You might pray to the rice kami for a good harvest and then pray to Amida Buddha for a good rebirth. Your spiritual life is not a choice between one or the other. It's a symbiotic relationship, a way of hedging your bets and finding comfort in every corner of your existence. Historians still argue whether this unique blend of Shinto and Buddhism was a natural result of cultural exchange or a deliberate policy of the ruling class to create a spiritual system that was both deeply rooted in tradition and yet offered a new kind of spiritual comfort. Did the peasants' unwavering faith serve to keep them from rebelling against their lot in life, or was it a genuine expression of their search for meaning in a brutal world? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The quiet presence of the kami and the distant promise of the Buddha are a part of the air you breathe. They are your comfort, your hope, and your guide. You are a man of the earth, and you are a man of the soul, and your faith is what keeps you going. Your home is not a house, it's a simple hut of wood and straw. It's a testament to the raw materials you can find in your immediate environment and the limited tools at your disposal. The walls are made of mud and straw, a form of simple adobe that is surprisingly effective at keeping out the wind and the worst of the rain. The roof is a thick layer of thatched straw, meticulously woven and layered to create a waterproof barrier. This is a communal project, and a new roof is a major event in the village, a collaborative effort that reminds you of your interdependence. The floor is simply the hard-packed earth, often covered with a simple straw mat. Inside, your hut is a single room. There are no bedrooms, no kitchens, no living rooms. Your family sleeps together on straw mats that can be rolled up and stored during the day. A small, simple hearth in the center of the room is the source of all your warmth and the place where you cook your meager meals. The smoke from the fire escapes through a small hole in the roof, a constant reminder of the cold and the damp that are never far away. The hut is dark and smells of wood smoke and damp earth, the scent of your life. There are no windows, just a single, small door that you must stoop to enter. It's a humbling and practical design, a reflection of a life that is lived outside, in the fields, under the open sky. A quirky detail about your home is the kamidana, or god shelf, a small, simple altar that is placed in the corner of your hut. It's a place where you keep a few small offerings, a bowl of rice, a sprig of a local plant, to honor the kami, or spirits, of your household. This is a place of quiet reverence, a reminder that your hut is not just a physical space, but a spiritual one. It's a connection to your ancestors and to the unseen forces that watch over your family. The presence of the god shelf in such a simple, unadorned home is a poignant testament to the fact that faith is a necessary component of your life, a source of comfort in a world that offers so little. Historians still argue whether the simplicity of the peasant's hut was a result of practical necessity, or if it was a deliberate policy of the ruling class to keep the lower classes in a state of humble austerity. Did the peasants live this way because they had no other choice, or was it a form of enforced humility, a quiet reminder that they were not meant for luxury, for you, the peasant? The answer is irrelevant. Your hut is your sanctuary, a place where you can escape the prying eyes of your neighbors and the constant threat of the outside world. It is a symbol of your quiet, simple life, a life that is defined not by what you have, but by what you can do without. It is a home that is as much a part of the earth as you are, a humble shelter that is born from the land and will one day return to it. Your life is a constant battle against the elements, but a more insidious, and often unseen, enemy lurks in the shadows, the plague of rats. They are a constant, quiet menace, a furry, squeaking army that is always on the hunt for food. They infest your fields, eating the precious rice before you can harvest it. They infest your homes, gnawing on your stored grain and leaving behind a trail of filth and disease. They are a sign of both famine and ill health, and your battle against them is a constant, exhausting one. You and your family will set simple traps, often a bowl with a bait and a heavy stone to crush them, but the rats are smart, and their numbers are endless. You also have to contend with other forms of vermin. Crickets might infest your fields, eating the young shoots before they can mature, and mosquitoes, a buzzing, biting nuisance, carry diseases that can fell a healthy person in a single night. The diseases they carry, fever, stomach ailments, are often mistaken for the work of angry spirits. A single bite can be a death sentence, and the sound of their buzzing is a quiet terror that settles over your village at dusk. A particularly quirky detail about this constant battle is the use of cats. A village might be home to a small number of cats, who are not seen as pets, but as working animals. They are valued for their ability to hunt and kill rats, a valuable skill in a world where food is scarce and disease is rampant. A cat might be given a small portion of your meager food, a kind of payment for its service. It's a pragmatic relationship, a quiet partnership between man and beast in the face of a shared enemy. Historians still argue whether the high incidence of disease in feudal Japan was primarily due to a lack of sanitation and medical knowledge, or if it was exacerbated by a diet of limited nutrients and the constant stress of life. Did the peasants' weakened immune systems make them more susceptible to the diseases that vermin carried? Or was the problem a more fundamental one of a lack of a public health system? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The rats and the insects are a constant part of your life. A grim reminder that you are not at the top of the food chain, you are simply a part of a larger, more complex ecosystem. And a simple creature can take your life away as easily as a samurai's sword. The quiet terror of a scurrying shadow, the high-pitched squeak in the middle of the night, these are the sounds of your world, the sounds of a constant, quiet war that you are always on the verge of losing. Your survival is a daily act of defiance against not just the forces of nature, but the forces of a world that is always trying to eat you alive. At the center of your village's social and moral universe is the village elder, or nanushi. He is not a man of power in the way a samurai is, but he is a man of authority, his power derived not from a sword, but from the collective respect of the community. He is the oldest, the wisest, and the one with the longest memory of the village's history. His authority is absolute in all matters of internal dispute, and he acts as judge, jury, and mediator. When two families argue over a plot of land, they don't go to a courthouse, they go to him. He listens to both sides, and his decision is final. To defy him is to defy the wisdom of the village itself. His role is not just about settling disputes. He also acts as the village's official representative to the local lord. He's the one who haggles with the tax collector, negotiates with the travelling officials, and delivers the collective tax payment to the lord's castle. This is a terrifying and difficult task, as a single misstep or a perceived act of defiance could lead to brutal consequences for the entire village. He is the bridge between your world of mud and rice and the lord's world of power and steel. A particularly quirky detail about his role is the concept of seppuku, or ritual suicide. While this is most famously associated with the samurai, a village elder might also resort to it in a moment of extreme shame or failure. If he fails to secure a fair tax rate, or if his village rebels, he might take his own life as a way of atoning for his failure and protecting his village from the Lord's wrath. This is a grim, final act of a man who is a servant to his people, a testament to the heavy burden of his position. The fact that a man of humble means could choose a samurai's death is a poignant symbol of the interconnectedness of your world's social hierarchy. A grim reflection of how the weight of honor can transcend class. Historians still argue whether the village elder was a genuine figure of moral and spiritual authority or a convenient puppet of the ruling class. Was he a leader who genuinely protected his people? Or was he simply a middleman who helped the lords extract a maximum amount of labor from the peasants? The answer, for you, is irrelevant. All you know is that he is the one who keeps the village running, who ensures that the quiet rhythm of your life continues. He is the keeper of your history, the guardian of your traditions, and the voice of your people. He is the quiet force that holds your small, fragile world together. The sight of him, his back bent with the weight of his years, is a constant source of both comfort and a quiet, sober reminder of the immense pressure that keeps your world from falling apart. While your education is a practical, hands-on affair, you learn to farm by farming. The children of the samurai and the elite live in a different world entirely. Their feudal education is a meticulously structured process, designed to mold them into the future leaders of the nation. It begins in early childhood and is a comprehensive blend of martial arts, academic pursuits, and cultural arts. A samurai boy is not just taught how to wield a sword, he is taught how to read and write, how to compose poetry, and how to perform a tea ceremony. His education is a testament to the idea that a true warrior is not just strong, but also cultured and intelligent. The martial arts training is, of course, a core component. A samurai boy begins training with a wooden sword, or bokken, from a very young age. He practices endlessly, learning the intricate forms of kenjutsu, the art of swordsmanship. This isn't just about fighting, it's about discipline, focus, and perfecting a craft. The training is brutal and unforgiving. He must endure pain, exhaustion, and the constant threat of a mistake that could cost him his life. His body is being molded into a weapon, a tool for war and honor. A quirky detail about this elite education is the importance of calligraphy, or shodo. A samurai is expected to be a master of the brush, his hand moving with a fluid grace that is a direct reflection of his inner character. The act of calligraphy is a form of meditation, a way of achieving mental and spiritual tranquility. A single brushstroke is a reflection of his soul, and a single imperfection in the stroke is a sign of a flawed character. This is a contrast to your life, where a single misstep in the field can be corrected, but a misstep in a samurai's life is a permanent, visible flaw. Historians still argue whether this rigorous education system was designed to create a class of well-rounded leaders, or if it was simply a way of enforcing a strict class hierarchy by making it impossible for a peasant to ever acquire the skills to challenge the ruling class. Was this a system of genuine meritocracy for the elite, or a subtle tool of oppression? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The sound of a samurai's boy reciting poetry from a distance is a sound that reminds you of your own illiteracy. The sight of a samurai's son gracefully wielding a wooden sword is a sight that reminds you of your own rough, calloused hands. Your education is one of survival, and his is one of mastery. You learn how to live, and he learns how to rule. To the samurai, warfare is a glorious and honorable affair, a stage on which to prove his courage and skill. To you, the peasant, it is a terror, a calamity that descends on your life without warning. You are not a soldier, you are a resource, a conscriptable body to be used as fodder in a lord's conflict. You don't fight for honor or glory, you fight for survival. When your lord goes to war, he doesn't send out a call for volunteers, he sends an order for a specific number of men from each village. You might be the one chosen, and your family's future will hang in the balance. Your equipment is simple, often nothing more than a sharpened bamboo spear or a crude knife. You have no armor, no training, and no experience in combat. You are sent to the front lines to serve as a distraction, to overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers. Your job is to simply be a body, to draw the fire of the enemy samurai so that your lord's professional soldiers can do their work. You are a disposable pawn in a game played by kings. The fear is not just of death, but of a pointless, anonymous death on a distant battlefield. You might not even get a proper burial. A particularly quirky detail about this is the use of yari, or spears, as the primary weapon for peasant soldiers. While a samurai's sword is a symbol of his individuality and skill, the spear is a symbol of your collective, anonymous existence. It's a simple, cheap weapon that can be produced in large numbers and requires minimal training to use. It's a tool of war that is a perfect reflection of your status as a disposable asset. Historians still argue whether the feudal lords deliberately used peasants as cannon fodder to preserve their valuable samurai forces, or if it was a pragmatic necessity born of the constant need for large armies. Was this a form of deliberate exploitation, a way of keeping the lower classes from becoming too powerful, or was it simply a reflection of the brutal realities of war? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant, the terror is real. The night before you are to march, your family might say goodbye, not knowing if they will ever see you again. You are a man of the earth, a peaceful farmer, and yet you are forced to become a soldier, a killer, a sacrifice for a cause you don't understand, and a lord you barely know. Your life, which is a constant struggle for peace, is disrupted by a war that is not your own. Your world is full of dangers, but some of the most profound ones are not from man or beast, but from the unseen. The dark, sprawling woods that surround your village are a source of both sustenance and silent terror. You must venture into them to gather firewood, to hunt for small game, and to find medicinal herbs, but you do so with a quiet sense of dread. For the woods are not just a collection of trees and plants, they are the domain of spirits and supernatural creatures, a landscape shaped by superstition and fear. The spirits you fear are not the gentle kami of the shrines, but the mischievous and malevolent ones. You've heard stories of the tengu, a kind of long-nosed, winged goblin that lives in the mountains and plays tricks on travelers, or the kappa, a water spirit that lives in the rivers and tries to lure people to their deaths. These are not just fairy tales, they are warnings. Lessons passed down through generations to keep you safe from the dangers of the natural world. A twisted tree might be the home of an old spirit, and a strange sound in the night might be a yokai, a supernatural monster. A particularly quirky detail about this is the use of omamori, small talismans or amulets that you can get from a shrine or a monk. These are often simple cloth pouches with a prayer or a charm inside. You might wear one around your neck or tie it to the door of your hut. It's a quiet, tangible way of protecting yourself and your family from the unseen forces that you know are all around you. It's a small object that offers a great deal of comfort in a world that is full of things that go bump in the night. Historians still argue whether the widespread belief in spirits and monsters was a form of social control, a way of keeping people from straying too far from the safety of their village, or if it was a genuine and sincere expression of a culture that was deeply connected to the land. Did these superstitions serve a practical purpose, or were they a beautiful and terrifying part of the Japanese psyche? For you, the peasant. The answer is irrelevant. You don't have the luxury of intellectualizing it. When you hear a branch snap in the middle of the night, you don't think about the psychology of fear. You simply pull your children closer and pray that it's just the wind. The forest is a place of both life and death, and you must walk through it with a quiet reverence and a profound sense of fear. The clothes you wear are not store-bought items, they are the direct product of your own labor. The craft of weaving your textiles is a time-consuming and meticulous process, a quiet art that is practiced by the women of your household. The raw materials are simple and humble. Your clothes are made from hemp or cotton, plants that you might grow in a small patch of land near your hut. The process begins with harvesting the plants, which are then stripped, soaked, and dried. The fibers are then spun into a rough, coarse thread using a simple hand spindle. This is a rhythmic and constant process, a quiet hum that is a part of your daily life. The thread is then stretched onto a loom, a simple wooden frame that is a permanent fixture in your hut. The weaving itself is a slow, methodical process. Your wife, or perhaps your mother, will sit for hours, her hands moving with a fluid, practiced grace, weaving the threads into a simple bolt of cloth. The finished product is not a work of art, but a work of necessity. It is durable, practical, and it is a testament to the fact that every single item you own is a product of your own effort. There is no such thing as off the rack in your world. The clothes you wear are a second skin, a tangible symbol of your life's quiet, repetitive labor. A particularly quirky detail about this process is the use of indigo dye. You might grow the indigo plant yourself, and the process of dyeing the cloth is a communal and celebratory event. The vats of fermenting dye are a familiar and pungent smell in your village, and the resulting blue cloth is a rare and precious splash of color. It is a color that is associated with both labor and resilience, a color that is a direct reflection of your life. Historians still argue whether the widespread use of indigo was a pragmatic choice based on its availability, or if it was a cultural preference for a color that was seen as both beautiful and functional. For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The blue of your clothes is a source of quiet pride. Remember the sense of communal life? The act of weaving is a part of that. Women might gather together, their hands moving in a synchronized rhythm, their voices a quiet hum of conversation and song. This is not just a job, it's a form of social bonding, a way of sharing stories and wisdom while creating the very fabric of your life. The clothes you wear are not just protection from the elements, they are a direct and tangible link to the people who made them, a quiet testament to a life of shared labor and shared fate. Your clothing is a humble and beautiful tapestry of your life, a story woven from the threads of your own existence. In your world, cleanliness is not a luxury, it's a pragmatic, communal, and sometimes dangerous affair. The concept of a private bathroom or a hot shower is utterly alien. Your daily rituals of hygiene are dictated by the natural world around you. You don't have indoor plumbing. Instead, your village is likely built around a stream or a river. This body of water is not just a source of drinking water, but it's also your laundry room, your kitchen sink, and your bathtub. You and your family will make a daily trek to the water's edge, often in a small group for safety. The act of washing is a communal event, and you perform it with a sense of quiet modesty. You use a simple soap made from rice bran or ashes, a coarse substance that gets you clean enough The water is cold and clear, and the act of washing your face and hands is a brief, refreshing respite from the constant dirt and grime of your life. The act of doing laundry is also done here, and you might see your neighbors scrubbing their coarse robes on a flat stone, their hands moving in a synchronized rhythm. A particularly quirky detail about this is the use of communal bathhouses, or sento. While you might not have one in your small village, a nearby town might. This is a place where you can get a rare, luxurious hot bath. It's not a private affair. You and your neighbors, and even strangers, will bathe together in a large, steaming wooden tub. The bathhouse is a social hub, a place where people can relax, talk, and shed the grime of their lives. It's a place where social distinctions blur for a brief moment, where a peasant might sit in the same hot water as a merchant. It's a place where you can feel a sense of shared humanity and a quiet comfort. Historians still argue whether the communal bathhouse was a genuine expression of a culture that valued public life and shared experiences, or if it was a practical solution to a lack of private resources. Was it a beautiful tradition or a pragmatic reality? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The communal bathhouse is a place of wonder, a brief escape from the cold and the dirt of your daily life. It's a moment of physical and spiritual purification, a rare opportunity to feel truly clean. The steam, the warmth, the quiet camaraderie, it's a simple pleasure that you cherish and remember long after you return to the cold, hard reality of your hut and your fields. The land you work is not just a source of food, it's the fundamental building block of the feudal system. The feudal land exchange system is a complex and often brutal way of organizing society, and you are at the very bottom of it. The land you work does not belong to you, it belongs to your village, which in turn belongs to the local daimyo, feudal lord, who in turn owes his loyalty and his land to the shogun, the supreme military ruler of Japan. This is a system of reciprocal obligations, a chain of loyalty and power that stretches from the highest lord to the lowliest peasant. The land itself is the currency. A daimyo's wealth and power are measured not in money, but in the amount of rice his land can produce. This is why the taxes you pay are so high. Your labor is the fuel that powers this entire system. A daimyo might grant a plot of land to a loyal samurai in exchange for his military service. This samurai, in turn, is the lord of a small number of peasants, and he, not the daimyo, is the one who collects the taxes. This creates a complex web of loyalties and dependencies, a system where everyone is a vassal to someone else, and your labor is what pays for the entire operation. A particularly quirky detail about this system is the concept of shoen, or large, autonomous estates that were often exempt from taxation and were sometimes owned by religious institutions or powerful families. These were like small, self-contained kingdoms within the feudal system, and they often created a kind of parallel power structure. A peasant who lived on a shoen might be under a different set of rules and obligations than a peasant who lived on a daimyo's land. This created a complex and confusing patchwork of allegiances and rules, a system where the lines of power were often blurry. Historians still argue whether the feudal land system was a stable and effective way of organizing society, or if it was a flawed and ultimately unsustainable system that led to constant conflict and instability. Did this chain of loyalty and obligation create a sense of order and security, or did it simply create a world where everyone was fighting for control of the one thing that mattered, the land, for you, the peasant? The answer is irrelevant. You are a part of a system you can't control, and your only job is to work the land that you will never own. Your life is a reflection of this system, a constant cycle of labor that is not for your own benefit, but for the benefit of the lords who rule you. You are a small, quiet cog in a massive, grinding machine, and your life is a testament to the fact that power comes from the land, and the land comes from your labor. In your world, your family name is not just a label, it's a living history, a direct connection to your ancestors and a heavy burden on your shoulders. You don't choose your name, it is given to you by birth, and it carries with it the story of your family's struggles, triumphs, and failures. Your name is a public record of your social standing, a mark that tells everyone who you are, where you come from, and what your place is in the rigid social order. For the samurai, a family name, or myoji, is a source of immense pride. It is a symbol of their lineage, their power, and their honor. For the peasant, a surname is often a simple, humble thing, often a description of a family's occupation, location, or a local landmark. You might be Tanaka, meaning in the middle of the rice paddy, or Yamanaka, in the middle of the mountain. It's a pragmatic and unromantic way of identifying a family, a direct reflection of a life that is so deeply intertwined with the land. Your family name is not a thing to be boasted about, it's a quiet fact of your existence. A particularly quirky detail about this is the fact that peasants were often forbidden from having a surname until the Meiji Restoration in 1868. This was a deliberate policy of the ruling class, a way of reinforcing the social hierarchy and preventing the lower classes from acquiring a sense of identity that was separate from their labor. You might have been known by your village name and your given name, but a family name was a luxury that was reserved for the samurai. This lack of a surname was a quiet, constant reminder that you were not a distinct individual, but simply a part of a collective. Historians still argue whether the restriction on surnames was a form of dehumanization, a deliberate attempt to strip peasants of their individual identities, or if it was a practical matter of social control, a way of keeping track of a population that was tied to the land. Was it an act of profound cruelty or a simple administrative tool? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. You are a man without a family name, a ghost of a person whose identity is tied not to a lineage but to a plot of land. Your life is a testament to the fact that in your world, who you are is less important than what you do. The weight of your family name, or lack thereof, is a constant, quiet burden that you carry with you every single day, while your life is defined by the communal, a world of constant connection to your family and your village. There are those who choose a path of radical individualism, the lone monk on the mountain. You might occasionally see one on the road, a figure of profound solitude and quiet dignity. He is a Buddhist ascetic, a man who has rejected the material world and the burdens of a family and a name. He lives a life of quiet contemplation, of prayer, and of profound hardship. He is a beggar, relying on the kindness of others for his daily sustenance, but he is a beggar of a different kind. He is a living symbol of spiritual freedom, a man who has chosen a life of quiet poverty over the riches of the world. His life is a continuous journey, a pilgrimage from temple to temple, from one sacred mountain to the next. He wears a simple robe of rough cloth, his head is shaved, and he carries a single wooden staff and a bowl for his arms. He doesn't speak unless he has to, and when he does, his words are a quiet testament to a life of profound simplicity. He is a man who has found a kind of peace that is entirely alien to your world, a peace that comes from having nothing and wanting nothing. A particularly quirky detail about the monk's life is the practice of shugendo, a syncretic religion that blends elements of Shinto and Buddhism. A yamabushi, or mountain ascetic, might perform feats of extreme physical endurance, such as walking for days without food or water, or standing under a freezing waterfall. These acts are not for show, they are a way of purifying the body and the soul, a way of achieving spiritual enlightenment through physical suffering. The sight of a monk, his body thin and wiry from years of hardship, is a sight that is both awe-inspiring and slightly terrifying. Historians still argue whether the monk's asceticism was a genuine quest for enlightenment or a way of escaping the rigid social structure of feudal Japan. Was the life of a wandering monk a form of spiritual rebellion against a society that was so focused on material wealth and social status? Or was it a form of quiet escape, a way of opting out of a system that was too difficult to endure? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The monk is a living, breathing symbol of a different way of life, a life that is not defined by rice paddies and taxes. He is a man who has found a kind of freedom that you can never have, a freedom that comes from a profound detachment from the world. He is a living testament to the fact that even in a world of strict rules and a rigid social order, there are those who can find a way to live outside the lines. The most terrifying threat to your village isn't from a rival lord or a band of marauding samurai, it's from bandits. They are a grim and constant presence, a kind of dark mirror to the feudal system. They are often dispossessed peasants, ronin, masterless samurai, or simply criminals who have been pushed to the fringes of society. They operate outside the law, preying on those who are too weak to defend themselves. Your lord's primary duty is to protect you, but his protection is often too far away or too preoccupied with grander battles to be of any help. When a group of bandits attacks, You and your neighbors are on your own. A bandit raid is a terrifying, chaotic affair. They descend on your village without warning, their faces often hidden behind masks or rags. They don't come for honor, they come for food, for tools, for anything they can steal. You and your family will hide in the woods, or in a secret cellar you dug for this purpose, your hearts thudding in your chests. You listen to the sounds of your village being ransacked, the crash of pottery, the frantic squawks of your chickens, the distant shouts of the men who are trying to fight back. The bandits are a brutal reminder of your lord's weakness, a quiet testament to the fact that his protection is not always a guarantee. A particularly quirky detail about this is the Jito, or land steward, who was supposed to be a local representative of the shogun and the daimyo, but in many cases, they were little more than petty lords who often colluded with bandits or were unable to provide any real protection. Their power was often a paper tiger, and their inability to keep the peace was a source of constant frustration for the peasants who lived under their rule. Historians still argue whether the prevalence of banditry was a sign of a failing feudal system or a natural and inevitable consequence of a society that was so unequal. Was banditry a symptom of the system's flaws, or was it a form of primitive rebellion? A quiet way for the dispossessed to fight back against a world that had rejected them. For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. All you know is that the bandits are a threat, and your only defense is your ability to hide and your quiet prayers to the gods. The aftermath of a bandit attack is a scene of profound devastation. Your fields might be trampled, your grain silos emptied, and your homes damaged. It's a setback that can take months, or even years, to recover from. The attack is a quiet trauma that lingers long after the bandits have left, a constant fear that settles in your bones. The bandit is a symbol of everything that is wrong with your world, the lack of protection, the constant threat of violence, and the fact that a simple, quiet life is a luxury you cannot afford. You are a man of peace, but your life is a constant, quiet war. While your world is one of dirt and labor, the towns and cities of feudal Japan are home to a vibrant and complex social group that exists on the fringes of polite society, the geisha. To you, the peasant, the geisha is a figure of myth and legend, a living embodiment of a world you can't even begin to comprehend. They are not prostitutes, as is often misunderstood. They are artists, and their world is one of refined art, music, and social intrigue. They live in a separate quarter of the town, a place of quiet, elegant wooden houses and lanterns that cast a soft glow on the night. The training of a geisha begins in childhood. She is an apprentice, or maiko, who is taught the intricate and demanding arts of dance, music, and conversation. She learns to play the shamisen, a 3-stringed instrument, and to perform a traditional, slow-paced dance that is a fluid, graceful form of storytelling. Her education is about more than just art. It's about learning the subtle art of conversation, of putting a powerful man at ease, and of creating a space of beauty and quiet elegance in a world that is so often brutal and crude. A particularly quirky detail about the geisha is their elaborate and symbolic makeup. They wear a thick, white foundation on their faces and necks, a stark and dramatic look that turns their face into a kind of canvas. The lips are painted a bright red, and the eyebrows are meticulously drawn. This makeup is not just for beauty, it's a kind of mask, a way of signaling that they are a different kind of person, a living work of art that is meant to be admired from a distance. The ritual of applying this makeup is a sacred and time-consuming one, a quiet preparation for a night of performance. Historians still argue whether the geisha were a force of female empowerment in a deeply patriarchal society, or if they were simply a form of entertainment that catered to the needs of powerful men. Was their world a kind of gilded cage, a place of profound beauty and quiet repression? Or was it a space where women could achieve a kind of independence and power that was otherwise denied to them? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The geisha is a living ghost, a beautiful, mysterious figure who exists on the other side of a social chasm. She is a symbol of a world of art and beauty that is a direct contrast to your world of mud and toil. She is a dream, a legend, and a constant, quiet reminder that there is a world of elegance and beauty out there, even if it's not for you. At the very top of the feudal power structure sits the shogun, the supreme military ruler of all Japan. He is not the emperor, a figure who is a divine and symbolic head of state, but the man who holds all the real power. The shogun is a general, a military dictator whose authority is absolute and whose word is law. Your life, the life of your lord, and the life of every samurai is ultimately tied to his power. He is a distant, almost mythical figure, a man who lives in a world of political intrigue and military campaigns. His power is a quiet, oppressive force that hangs over every aspect of your life. The shogun's authority comes from the emperor, but it is maintained by a complex system of military alliances and a vast network of spies and informants. He is the master of a chessboard, and every lord, every samurai, and every peasant is a piece to be moved at his whim. He can raise taxes, declare war, and seize land with a single decree. He is the ultimate force of order in a world that is always on the brink of chaos. He is a symbol of both profound power and profound isolation, a man who lives in a gilded cage, his every move watched and every word analyzed. A particularly quirky detail about the shogun's power is the practice of sankin kotai, or alternate attendance. This was a policy that forced every daimyo to spend a year living in the shogun's capital, and then return to his domain for a year, leaving his family behind as hostages. This was a brilliant piece of social engineering, a way of bankrupting the daimyo, keeping them under the shogun's constant surveillance, and preventing them from ever building up the kind of wealth and power that would allow them to rebel. It was a form of political control that was as subtle and as brutal as a finely honed blade. Historians still argue whether this system was a necessary evil that led to a long period of peace, or if it was a profound act of oppression that stifled creativity and innovation. For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. You simply know that when a daimyo is traveling, your village is at a heightened state of alert, your taxes are likely to go up to pay for his journey, and your life is a little more chaotic than usual. The shogun is a distant god, a figure you will never meet and whose face you will never see. His edicts, when they reach your village, are a source of both terror and a kind of grim relief. They are a sign that the world is still in order, that there is still a hand on the rudder, even if that hand is an iron fist. The shogun is a symbol of a world that is not your own, a world of grand power and grand ambition that exists far beyond the boundaries of your small village. He is the master of a machine, and you are a simple, quiet part of it. As the seasons turn, your greatest fear is not a samurai's sword or a bandit's raid, but the profound silence of a winter of famine and fear. The cold season is a period of scarcity and profound vulnerability. The fields are barren, the rivers are frozen, and the game is scarce. You have to rely entirely on the rice you harvested in the fall, and every single grain is a precious, life-giving resource. You and your family will ration your food, a slow, agonizing process of hunger and discipline. Your bodies, already thin from a life of labor, will grow even thinner. The cold is an enemy as relentless as the sun in summer. Your simple hut, with its mud walls and thatched roof, is a poor defense against the biting winds and the heavy snow. You will spend your days huddled around a small, smoky fire, your hands and feet numb from the cold. The firewood you gathered in the fall is a finite resource, and every log you burn is a piece of your future being consumed. You can't just go out and chop more. The ground is frozen, and the snow is too deep. You are trapped in your small world, a quiet, freezing, waiting game. A particularly quirky detail about this time is the practice of kozen, or roasted barley flour. This was a simple, coarse powder that could be mixed with hot water to create a thin, calorie-rich gruel. It was a common food during times of scarcity, a way of stretching your precious resources and providing a little bit of warmth and sustenance. It's a flavorless and unappealing substance, but it is a symbol of survival, a quiet, desperate testament to your family's will to live. Historians still argue whether the high rate of winter deaths in feudal Japan was primarily due to starvation or if it was a result of cold-related illnesses and a lack of proper sanitation. Was the winter a test of a family's resilience or a grim, inevitable part of a life of poverty? For you, the peasant, the answer is a combination of both. The winter is not just a physical hardship, it's a profound spiritual one. It's a time of quiet fear, a time when you contemplate your mortality and the fragility of your existence. You will listen to the wind howling outside your hut, a sound that seems to carry the whispers of the dead. You will look at your children's thin faces and pray for a warm spring. The winter is a time when the world seems to go into a kind of hibernation, a time when life itself seems to hold its breath. It's a long, dark night, and you can only pray for a new day. The world beyond your village is a dangerous and chaotic place, and the local inn is a microcosm of it. It's a place of respite from the road, a rare opportunity to sit by a fire that you didn't have to build yourself, and to drink a warm sake that someone else brewed. But it's also a place of peril, a hub where news, rumours, and danger converge. The inn is a simple, rustic building, often a single large room with a communal hearth and straw mats for sleeping. It's a place where you might encounter a travelling merchant, a wandering monk, or even a low-ranking samurai. The atmosphere is a strange mix of quiet camaraderie and intense suspicion. Everyone is on their guard, their eyes constantly scanning the room, trying to figure out who is a friend and who is a foe. A traveller might be a legitimate businessman, or he might be a bandit in disguise waiting for an opportunity to strike. The innkeeper, a grizzled, no-nonsense figure, is the one who keeps the peace. His word is law in his small domain. He knows every regular, and he has a keen eye for a stranger who doesn't belong. A particularly quirky detail about the inn is the practice of daimyo juretsu, or the Lord's procession. When a lord and his retinue travel, they often stay at a local inn, and the entire establishment is taken over for their use. You and the other commoners are summarily kicked out, forced to find shelter in a nearby shed or in the woods. The inn becomes a closed-off world of opulence and ceremony, a place where a small army of servants and retainers cater to the every whim of a man who is the master of your destiny. This is a grim reminder that your comfort and your safety are always secondary to the needs of the ruling class. Historians still argue whether the local inns of feudal Japan were primarily a service to the travelling population or a key tool of the ruling class for moving troops and officials from one part of the country to another. Did the inns serve the people, or were the people simply a part of a system that served the lords? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The inn is a place of both comfort and a profound lack of it. It is a place where you can feel a brief sense of security, and a place where you are constantly reminded that you are not in control of your own life. The warmth of the fire, the taste of the sake, the quiet hum of conversation, it's a brief, stolen moment of peace in a world that offers so little of it. Every village has a secret, something that is never spoken of, a hidden cruelty that keeps order. This is your village's darkest secret, a grim reality that is a part of the social fabric. It's the knowledge that a person who is too old, too sick, or too much of a burden might simply disappear. They might go on a journey to a distant shrine and never return, or they might simply fade from view, their absence never spoken of. This is not a formal act of murder, it's a collective, unspoken decision, a grim necessity that is born out of a life of profound scarcity. The village cannot afford to feed a mouth that cannot work, and so it makes a terrible choice. This dark secret is kept not out of malice, but out of a kind of quiet desperation. To talk about it would be to acknowledge the inhumanity of your existence, the fact that your life is a resource to be used and discarded. It would be a betrayal of the collective lie that keeps your society from falling into chaos. The truth is that your community's quiet solidarity is built on a foundation of profound cruelty, a grim reminder that your survival is not a given but a privilege that must be earned every single day. A particularly quirky and chilling detail about this is the legend of Ubasute, which translates to abandoning an old woman. This is a myth or a folk tale that is said to have been practiced in times of extreme famine. A family might carry an elderly parent to a remote mountain and leave them there to die. The legend is a testament to the profound fear of scarcity, a story that is told to children to remind them of the high price of life. Historians still argue whether this was a widespread practice or a dark folk tale that served as a cautionary warning. Was it a grim reality or a symbol of a culture's profound fear of an uncaring world? For you, the peasant, the distinction is meaningless. All you know is that the secret exists, and the fear that you might one day become a burden is a quiet, constant weight on your soul. This secret is not just about the old and the sick, it's about anyone who strays from the path of conformity. A person who is too eccentric, too loud, or too different might find themselves subtly ostracized, their access to communal resources slowly cut off, until they are left with nothing. This is a form of social execution, a quiet, non-violent way of eliminating a person who threatens the fragile balance of the village. The village's quiet harmony is a beautiful thing, but it is a harmony that is maintained by a quiet, constant terror. While the samurai's power is in his land and his sword, a new, quiet force is on the rise. The merchant class. You see them in the towns, these men who deal not in rice, but in money. To you, the peasant, they are a strange and often untrustworthy breed. They are not tied to the land, their loyalty is to profit, and their power is in their ability to acquire and move wealth. In the rigid social hierarchy, they are considered to be at the very bottom, beneath even you, the peasant, who at least has a direct connection to the land and a clear purpose. But this official ranking is a lie. Their power is a quiet, growing force that is slowly eroding the foundations of the feudal system. They are the ones who trade goods from one province to the next, who lend money, and who control the flow of commerce. They live in a world of numbers and ledgers, a world that is entirely alien to your own. A merchant's wealth is not visible in a grand castle or a large retinue of samurai, but in a small, unassuming ledger that contains the names of his debtors and the record of his transactions. Their power is in their ability to manipulate the flow of goods and money, and in a time of war or famine, their ability to acquire and sell goods can be a matter of life and death. They are a kind of quiet force, a hidden power that operates outside the rules of the samurai class. A particularly quirky detail about this is the rise of the chonin, or townspeople, a class of artisans and merchants who lived in the cities. They were a vibrant and creative force, a group that was not bound by the strict social rules of the village or the samurai class. They developed a unique and colourful culture, one that was reflected in their art, their clothing, and their stories. They were a kind of cultural vanguard, a group that was not afraid to break the rules and to express a kind of individuality that was impossible for a peasant or a samurai. They were a sign that a new world was being born, a world that was not defined by rice or honour, but by money and art. Historians still argue whether the rise of the merchant class was a disruptive force that eventually led to the breakdown of the feudal system, or if it was a necessary and inevitable part of a developing economy. Did their existence create a new kind of social mobility that was a threat to the rigid social order, or were they a force that simply lubricated the existing system? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. You simply know that their world is a different one, a world where a man's worth is not in the work of his hands, but in the contents of his ledger. You are a man of the earth, and they are men of the world. For the samurai, death is not a defeat, it's a final act of honor, a public performance that is a culmination of a life lived under the strict code of Bushido. The grim ritual of seppuku, or harakiri, as it is more commonly known, is the ultimate expression of a samurai's loyalty and courage. It is not just a form of suicide, it's a way of taking responsibility for a failure, a way of atoning for a mistake, or a way of avoiding capture and the humiliation of a public execution. To die by one's own hand is to die with honor, a fate far more desirable than a life lived in shame. The ritual is a highly structured and meticulous affair. The samurai, dressed in a white robe, will sit on a straw mat, a small wooden table, or sanbo, in front of him. On the table is a short sword, or tanto. He will then perform a final act of poetry or a final gesture of respect to his family. A trusted friend, or kai shakunin, stands behind him, his own sword raised, ready to deliver a final, merciful blow to the neck. The samurai will then take the short sword and plunge it into his abdomen. The kai shakunin will then behead him, a swift, elegant act that ends the ritual before the samurai has to endure too much pain. A particularly quirky detail about this is the use of a fan instead of a sword. In some cases, a samurai who was a poet or a scholar might be given a fan. He would use the fan to gesture toward his abdomen, and the kai shakunin would then behead him. A symbolic gesture that allowed the samurai to die with honor without having to endure the actual pain of the ritual. This was a kind of quiet mercy, a way of acknowledging a man's honor even in his final moments. Historians still argue whether seppuku was a genuine and sincere act of honor or a tool of social control that was used to keep the samurai in line. Was it a beautiful and profound ritual? Or was it a form of forced suicide? A way of punishing a man while maintaining the pretense of his honor? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. You simply know that your death will be a quiet, unremarked affair. You will die from sickness or old age. Your body will be buried in the ground, and your death will be a sad but unremarkable fact of life. The samurai's death, by contrast, is a public spectacle, a grand finale to a life that was lived in the constant shadow of honor and death. Your life is not a linear path, it is a slow, cyclical rhythm, and the slow march of time itself is not marked by technological progress or personal achievement. It is measured by the turning of the seasons, the planting and harvesting of rice, and the quiet cycle of birth, life, and death. You are not a master of time, but a servant of it. The idea of progress is an alien one. Your father lived this life, his father before him, and his father before that. You are a part of a long, unbroken chain of existence, and your purpose is to simply continue it. The passing of time is marked by rituals and traditions, not by a ticking clock. The most important of these is the annual harvest, a moment when the entire village comes together to celebrate a successful season and to give thanks to the gods. It's a moment of profound relief, a quiet exhale after a year of relentless toil. This is the moment when you know that you have survived for another year, that your family will not starve, and that the rhythm of your life will continue. It's a moment of both joy and a kind of grim resignation. You know that you will do it all over again next year. A particularly quirky detail about this is the concept of mono-no-aware, a profound, bittersweet awareness of the impermanence of things. It's the feeling you get when you see a cherry blossom fall, a symbol of a brief moment of beauty that is destined to fade away. This is not a sad feeling, but a beautiful one, a quiet appreciation for the fleeting nature of life. This is a concept that is deeply ingrained in the Japanese psyche, and it is a powerful force in your world. You know that your life is short, that your struggles are temporary, and that you are just a small, insignificant part of a much larger, more beautiful cycle. Historians still argue whether the cyclical nature of peasant life in feudal Japan was a source of great stability or a kind of quiet oppression. Did the lack of a linear sense of time make people more resilient and more connected to their traditions? Or did it stifle innovation and personal freedom? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. You are a man who lives in the present, a man who knows that your life is not a journey, but a quiet, repetitive dance. You are a part of a slow, continuous march, and your only job is to simply keep walking. The idea of leaving your peasant life behind is a fantasy, a dream so beautiful and so impossible it's a kind of madness. You are born into a station, and you die in that same station. The feudal system is a closed system, a caste that is determined at birth. The only way to move up is to be a samurai, and to be a samurai, you must be born into a samurai family. This is not a world of social mobility or individual opportunity. You are a farmer, and you will always be a farmer. But there are rare, almost mythical, exceptions. You might, in a moment of great bravery, save a samurai's life. He might, as a reward, take you on as a servant, a man who lives in his retinue, a man who is no longer bound to the soil. This is a rare, life-changing event that is a testament to the fact that even in a world of strict rules, there are moments of profound grace. But it would be a dangerous and difficult transition. You would have to learn a new set of rules, a new way of life. You would be a man without a home, a ghost in a world that is not your own. A particularly quirky detail about this is the existence of the ronin, or masterless samurai. These were men who had lost their lord, either through his death or by their own failure. They were men without a purpose, without a home, and without a place in the social order. They were a kind of living death, a grim reminder of what happens when you are severed from the social body. You might encounter a ronin on the road, a solitary, dangerous figure who is a symbol of a life that has lost its meaning. He is a samurai, yes, but he is a samurai who is lower than you, a man who has lost his honor and his purpose. Historians still argue whether the dream of leaving your station was a genuine and sincere desire of the peasants, or a fantasy that was encouraged by storytellers to give the people a brief escape from their grim reality. Was the idea of social mobility a form of control, a way of giving people a false hope? Or was it a genuine, quiet rebellion against a world that was so unfair? For you, the peasant, the answer is irrelevant. The dream of leaving is a part of your life, a quiet hope that you cherish and a beautiful, impossible fantasy that you know will never come true. Your life is here, in the mud, in the rice paddies, and in the quiet rhythm of your village. Your life is not a journey to a different place. It's a journey to the end of your life. A quiet, repetitive walk in a world that is as beautiful as it is brutal. Now, the journey is over. The last of the rice is in the silo, the last of the straw is on the roof, and the final prayers have been said. The distant crow of the rooster is a fading memory, and the only sound you hear is the soft hum of the fan and the slow, rhythmic sound of your own breathing. The smells of damp earth, of wood smoke, and of fermenting rice are fading into a distant haze. You are no longer in feudal Japan. You are here, now, in your own bed, in your own world, and the quiet, distant hum of a different life is a gentle sound that lulls you into sleep. The hardships, the fears, the triumphs, and the quiet beauty of that world are a part of you now, a story that you can carry with you into your dreams. The samurai and the peasant, the noble and the commoner, the rice and the sword, they are all a part of a larger, more beautiful tapestry. You have travelled a great distance, and now it is time to rest. You have lived a life that was not your own, and now it is time to return to yourself. Close your eyes, let the story fade away, and drift off into a deep, peaceful sleep. The world is a quiet place now, and all is well. End of script. Sweet dreams.